Hey everyone, so today we are going to continue our Venom storyline, so buckle up and let's get ready. We start our story at the local diner in the middle of San Francisco, where Eddie and Dylan finally get a chance to meet one another. And after a little small talk, Eddie gets straight to the point. Why do you want me to kill our dad? The room goes silent, but when Dylan just asks, why does our dad hate you so much? Eddie puts his coffee down and begins to tell his story. In the flashback, we see a young Eddie Brock playing on the sidewalk, chasing his dog, just doing what all kids do, having fun. Eddie begins to say, I should have been paying attention. I should have reacted, but I didn't. By the time I saw what was happening, it was too late. And as he says this, we watch Eddie run out in front of the car, still playing with his dog, as his dad yells for Eddie to stop. From here he says it's just all a slideshow of blood, metal, and worst of all, screaming, feeling all the weight of it wrapped around him. Because on that day, the little boy who got hit by that car wasn't Eddie. Eddie was the one driving, with booze still on his breath and beer cans falling all over the street. That's the night where he became a monster. A few weeks after the incident passed, we see Eddie and his dad in an interrogation room the day before his court date. When Eddie tells his lawyer he wants to plead guilty, his dad just tells him he needs to rethink that, but Eddie persists, Dad, I killed someone. I killed an innocent child. I deserve to be, and at this point, his dad cuts him off and asks for everyone to leave the room. The lawyer and the cops step out, and when it's just them, his dad yells, tomorrow you will plead guilty, and is that clear? Now crying, Eddie tries to say again about taking his punishment. That's when Eddie's dad punches him across the face, saying he will not have this. You will say it. Say innocent. And he begins to smack him across the face, then bashing his head onto the metal table. Now pulling him by his hair, covered in blood, he begins to mumble, innocent, and just keeps repeating it. Eddie continues saying that is where the whole protecting the innocence thing came from. Someone has to protect them from people like me. And they end up leaving the diner shortly after. Walking back to the alley where Dylan found Eddie, the question of killing their dad is brought up again. And Dylan says, I was just mad. I don't want him dead. I just want him to stop hurting me. Eddie says he'll take care of it, but he ends up stumbling towards the wall, coughing, and begins to say his other, the symbiote. It's messing with my mind. He begins sliding down the wall. I can't focus. It's erasing things. I looked it up. I was at Flash's funeral. It made me forget the whole thing. Dylan asks if he's sure it's a symbiote. And when Eddie looks up towards Dylan, Noel begins to emerge from Dylan's body, wrapping around him. And instinctively, Eddie's symbiote covers him and he kicks Noel in the neck. So with Noel on the ground, Eddie's hand turns into a blade, and as he gets ready to stab into Noel, he yells, Eddie, please stop, you're hurting me. And Eddie blinks, and what he sees is Dylan, now in fear for his life, not knowing what's going on, begging for him not hit him again. Questioning himself, Eddie asks what's going on, and then begins to spit out blood as he passes out. Later that night, we see Dylan in the waiting room of the hospital, when two men in suits come through the doors, telling Dylan to come with them. And as they begin to walk down the hallway, drawing blood from Dylan, he asks what's wrong with Eddie, and when we hear the Maker's voice call out, saying, from the traumatic psychic scarring from finding a god, to an alien life form attached to his central nervous system, it's a lot wrong. But to answer your question, he has a lot of cancer. From here we go to the mind of Eddie Brock. We see a younger Eddie sitting there in the waiting room as his sister Mary walks up, bringing them through the double doors of the cancer ward. Walking in, he sees his uncle on his deathbed, rotting away. Eddie rubs his face, realizing this isn't real. This isn't right. What the hell is going on? While this is going on inside Eddie's head, his dad comes busting through the doors of the hospital, being restrained by security guards yelling for Dylan. As he yells for Dylan, Eddie hears it echoing inside of his head. He ends up to the place where he was born, the day his life was changed forever, the church where he met Venom. He pulls out the same gun he brought with him on that night. He was ready to commit suicide. Alone and dying of cancer, he wanted to say goodbye to God. But on that night, the God he was praying to never answered, and another one replied instead. The symbiote wraps around Eddie, strangling him. Mary begins to say, let it become you. Let us heal you. See, you don't have to be scarred, and you'll never be alone again. But as this happens, the world around him shatters, and he sees the truth. He can see everything. His sister never existed. She was created by the symbiote. With realizing this, Eddie becomes furious, saying, you put her in my head, and you made me love her. Why? The symbiote tells him to calm down, but Eddie just yells, stop lying to me. You showed me my uncle dying, but I never even had an uncle. Why are you doing this to me? To us. Why did you put this stuff in my head? I thought we were beyond this. I thought you loved me. The symbiote reaches out, saying it was the only way to make you stay. You had to need us. Shocked, Eddie realizes he never had cancer His memories were just altered, thinking he was rotting away, but every time he wanted to leave, he wouldn't have a choice but to stay. The symbiote starts to beg, "I was scared you'd leave us because of him, because of what he really is, because of Dylan." That's when Eddie wakes up and he yells to get him out of the machine. And where's Dylan? The Maker says not to worry. The authorities have contacted his father and he should be here by now to take custody of him. But Eddie begins to scream, "You need to let me out. He's not my brother. He's my son."